Thank you very much. Lucy Cormack from the Sydney Morning Herald in Australia. Dr. Sultan, if I may, reports in The Guardian of your comments that there is no science behind calls to cut fossil fuels. Do you maintain this, and do you accept that language like this and talk of people living in caves could contribute to a loss of public confidence in this COP outside of the negotiating bubble here on site?
Let's talk delivery. Let's talk progress. Let's talk momentum and traction. Let's talk about facts on the ground. Let me just say this about the media reports without naming anybody. The media reports on a conversation I had with a person I have a great deal of respect for, and that is Mary Robinson. I have incredible respect for Mary Robinson, and I have a great deal of respect for everything she has been able to accomplish and achieve over the years. And when I received, in fact, I was very honored to receive her invitation to participate and speak in a discussion around climate and gender. Climate and gender. That was the topic that I was invited for, and I very much appreciated and respected the invitation, and that's why I did not even blink. I accepted it right away. And let me just clarify where I stand on the science. I hope this time it gets picked up, because what I'm saying today, you have access to all of my public engagements. It's there. I'm not going to say anything new. I honestly think that there is some confusion out there, and misrepresentation and misinterpretation. And to address this question right, let me first introduce myself to you. I'm an engineer by background. It's the science and my respect to the science and my passion about the science, and it's about my conviction to the science that have enabled me to progress in my career. I'm an economist by background, and by combining my passion for science and my engineering background and supplementing that with business and economics skills, I was able to progress in my career. So science has been central to my own career progress. And yes, I respect the science in everything I do. And I respect and trust numbers and figures. Science has guided my life. This is a fact. And I have repeatedly said in many occasions and in many different platforms that it is the science that have guided the principles of our strategy as COP28 presidency. And I've been very crystal clear about that, and I hope that this time I am clearer in getting this message across. The science says that we must get to net zero emissions by 2050, and we must reduce emissions by 43% by 2030, and that is to reduce 22 gigatons, the one I just referred to, in order for us to be able to keep 1.5 within reach. And I have been very clear that my job in this mission is to ensure that my North Star continues to be, and that we stay laser focused on our North Star, and that is keeping 1.5 within reach. And that will not change. That will not change. In fact, if anything, you will only see my North Star more shining, because that's how much I care about keeping focus on my North Star. I have said over and over that the phase down and the phase out of fossil fuel is inevitable. In fact, it is essential. And this transition is, in fact, essential. And it needs to be orderly, fair, just, and responsible. And it needs to be well managed. So, allow me to say that I am quite surprised at the constant attempt to undermine this message. I can't not be clear about it. I am quite surprised with the constant and repeated attempts to undermine the work of the COP28 presidency and the attempts to undermine the message that we keep repeating when it comes to how much we respect the science and how we ensured that the science is what dictates our strategy for our strategic imperatives and the objectives we want to deliver at COP28. Let me just add this. I know that there are strong views among some parties about the phase down or phase out of fossil fuels. And allow me to say this again. This is the first presidency ever to actively call on parties to come forward with language on all fossil fuels for the negotiated text. This is the first ever presidency that does that. How come this doesn't get picked up or mentioned? This is a reality. It's a fact. I have said this repeatedly in my public engagements. At the pre-COP, I said very clearly that we, as the COP28 presidency, are extending an open invitation to all parties to come forward with common grounds and consensus when it comes to this language. And yes, I am engaging with all parties. And yes, I am encouraging them to do so. And I said the same many times. And I said it even again in my opening remarks at COP28. But guess what? It was barely picked up. Barely. But one statement taken out of context with misrepresentation and misinterpretation, it gets maximum coverage. Again, I respect facts, I respect numbers, and these are the facts on the ground, unfortunately. I have called on parties many times to find common ground, build consensus, and come to me with language that will work with all parties. This presidency is committed to delivering the highest ambition GST possible. If anything, I need your help. Please help me get this message across. I am committed and determined to deliver the most ambitious response to the global stocktake. Please, let's give the process the space it needs. And if anything, judge us on what we will deliver at the end of this COP. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sultan. As the science was being called into question, though, could I invite the chair of the IPCC, Jim Ski, to come in here?
I think it's working. It's working.
It's working. Okay, sorry. I'm used to having to press buttons. So just to say, I'm here representing the IPCC, which does have a mandate which is quite distinct from the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. And just to say, we are concerned with the facts and the figures. We don't carry out our own research. We assess the work that is carried in the scientific community. And when we produce our reports, every line, every word is approved in collaboration with governments and has been endorsed by them. And just a couple of words about what IPCC actually said about fossil fuels, and I will say it very precisely. So, looking at scenarios in which global warming is limited to 1.5 degrees with no or little overshoot. By 2050, fossil fuel use is greatly reduced and unabated coal use is completely phased out. These are the words that we used. I can give you some extra numbers as well for oil, for example. Oil use by 2050 is reduced by 60%, and natural gas use is reduced by 45%. I might say that I have had a small number of one-to-one conversations with Dr. Sultan, and the topic has exclusively been on the science. And I can say that, that Dr. Sultan has been attentive to the science as we have discussed it, and I think has fully understood it. So I don't want to go beyond that and do interpretation. I think we should have the facts out there, and if people want to see the detail from the IPCC reports, we would happily provide them to journalists.
Thank you very much. Gentleman here in the front row, if we have the microphone.
Yes. Seth Borenstein, the Associated Press. Dr. Sultan, just to drill a little deeper into your comments, can you go through and define for us time periods you are talking about with phase down and or phase out, the difference to you between the two, and how, and with the Secretary General has said just here a few days ago, don't even talk abated. Just so, are you willing to throw away language on the desire to stick in the unabated? Can you delve into what it means to you and what are your red lines here as the COP president?
As a COP president, I have no red lines. It's the parties that will decide. And it's the parties that I have repeatedly and openly invited and encouraged and motivated to come to me with language. I have done that, and I continue to do that, and I will continue doing that. Now, in regards to the timeline, again, I respect the science. I respect the science, and I respect the IPCC reporting and reports, facts and figures. And you mentioned the SG, and I'm glad you mentioned what he said. He is right. He is right. But guess what? I said it a day before he did, wasn't picked up. Was not picked up, not even mentioned. When I confronted the oil and gas industry, was not picked up, was not even mentioned. When I said that while I am grateful and appreciative for the oil and gas and all heavy emitting industries to take such a bold and a giant step to come around the table and to sign up to these commitments with facts and figures, yet I did say that. I knew and I know that the oil and gas industry and heavy emitting industries can do much more. So are they doing enough? Even though they have responded after tough and hard discussions, they have responded and they've stepped up. Is this enough? The answer is no. So if someone else says it, it gets picked up and it gets maximum coverage. When I am saying it, when I'm confronting and I'm driving, it doesn't even get barely any. Let me just be simple. I said the same thing. Same thing. I was identical. Same thing. No pickup whatsoever. The SG gets maximum coverage, and then it gets twisted as if there is any kind of conflicting messages. I'm telling you, we are not. Why? Because it's the science that is driving the principles of this COP. I made it very clear in my COP, in my speech, that the COP28's presidency's energy package is only the beginning. I did say it's a giant step. I did say it's a big step in the right direction, but I did mention it, and I repeatedly said it, it is not enough. And I did encourage everyone to work with us and to help us identify more and new solutions, and to help make this energy package better and help us unlock its potential. Because I do believe in inclusivity. And I do believe that if we were to bring everyone on board, we will be able to address this challenge head-on by capitalizing on the science and by capitalizing on their capabilities, engineering capability, their science capability, their access, their technology, their financial capability, their reach, their ability to manage complex projects. I believe that they can help fast-track this transition. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid we're going to have to draw it to a close with 4 key themes in today. We have a very busy schedule. We will be back tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. in this room.